Hello, everyone. It's been, oh my, a long time since I've done a um, breast cancer update video. It's been a really good while, but I'm feeling pretty good tonight. Had a long day in service all day today, and I tell you, God's just been good. And if you didn't know, if you are not one that walks with me every day when I go to my oncologist and go for all these various doctor's appointments and listen to the various reports that I continue to get. You would never believe what's actually going on in this body. But I want you to see the power of God in a mortal body. A body that medical specialists declared on January 14th of 2011 that cancer was all over my body. Now, I don't get a chance. Every now and then, as often as I can, without boring people, when I go somewhere to sing or to minister, I try to share the story because there's always somebody sitting in an audience that needs to hear and see that in spite of medical reports, in spite of diagnosis and prognosis, and in spite of what the chemical analysis reports, God is still moving and functioning and operating through a mortal body that has yielded itself to his will. So, sometimes, especially if it's the same crew that's traveling with you all the time, they keep hearing the same story, and after a while it kind of gets a little old to them, so I'm gonna put it on here for somebody that has never heard it, so you'll understand how good God is, because we are in a day that people are looking for signs and wonders. And God is a God of signs and wonders. And so, January 14 of 2011, my prognosis was, and I was so naive, I didn't even understand what it meant when I read the report. It said stage 4 breast cancer, terminal. Now, when I read it after I gotten home, after I'd had a major surgery, and that's where they discovered there was breast cancer, and the first thing was the breast cancer they found it in a place that breast cancer never goes. They found the breast cancer in the uterus, in the lining of the uterus. It was tucked down up underneath there, hidden. Okay, that was the first thing. Then breast cancer cells don't go to the uterus, because when you find cancer cells in the uterus, it's called uterine cancer, or they have some other name for it, but it's not breast cancer. So because of that, I ended up being the topic of discussion within the tumor panel of doctors at one of the major hospitals here in Austin. So then, after they finally figured out, well, how did it get here? Where did it originate? So of course we had to do the ultrasound and all of that. And so when they did the ultrasound, it turns out they found a tumor in the right breast. And so they said, okay, well, what do we want to do? Do you want to have a lumpectomy? radiation, and they went to discussing all these things. And I said, well, no, we're just going to wait. They discharged me from the hospital after my regular, I don't know how many days, 8 days after I had to stay in there because of the abdominal surgery. Got home, and then I began to really look at the report. I still didn't pay any attention to the fact that the paper said terminal. And I'm telling you, it was like 2 or 3 years later that I discovered that when they say terminal, that meant 6 months or less. And when I discovered it, I had already been here past that time. God is awesome. So I go to the oncologist and they said, okay, we got to make sure that it hasn't spread anyplace else. So then, of course, we went through the whole full body CT scans of all of the internal organs. And then I had to go and endure a bone scan. And when they did the bone scan, they discovered that the breast cancer cells, and I'm telling you, they did the bone scan and then they did a bone biopsy. Ooh, that hurt. That was some kind of painful. Just to discover if the breast cancer cells was in the bone marrow. Come back, breast cancer in the bone marrow. Breast cancer speckled throughout my entire skeleton, from head to toe. There was nowhere, the oncologist told me, there was nowhere in my bones that they would not find breast cancer. Whoo-wee. And I said, okay, God, what are we doing? What we doing? Because I know this is not unto death. So the question was, God, what are we doing? I know we're doing something because I know this is not unto death. So we must be doing something. And you know what he told me? All he said was, you just keep doing what you've been doing. What had I been doing? Well, I'd been singing. I'd been preaching. I've been having my Bible studies. I had developed a Bible study at one of the churches, and it was just going. He said, just keep on doing what you're doing. That's all he told me. But you know what? My God, that was enough for me. Because that let me know God knows all about it. I already knew that because he's omniscient. It didn't take him by surprise. It took me by surprise, for sure. But because I knew that it didn't take him by surprise, I was able to do like David said. I began to rest in the Lord. You see, listen, my dears. Oh, and I don't want to just testify because I get caught up and then I want to start preaching. So let me just give my testimony. All right. So that was in 2011. After they had taken the bone scans, they discovered that on my left femur bone, at the neck of the femur bone, right there at the hip, cancer had eaten a hole in that hip. Now, I had noticed some sharp pains in my hip after I had gotten home from the original surgery, but I thought it was just arthritis. Okay. And well, when I did go back after the recovery from the surgery and they did the bone scan, they discovered there was a hole there. That's why I was having pain. And then the orthopedic surgeon said, we need to put a rod in that leg because your bones from the cancer that was so dispersed throughout all of my bones, they said there would be nothing that I could just be sitting and just slightly turn and that bone would break. And they said if it broke in the condition that the scans are showing your bones, it would just make matters worse. So let's put a rod in there to stabilize the leg and we'll go from there. Well, I didn't feel any intrepidation about that. And I said, okay, that's fine. Let's do that. Oh, Lord, have mercy. In the meantime, I started taking some vitamin D3 and I started eating different. Mhm. I stopped with all the fried chicken. Oh, Lord, because I know I love fried chicken. Ah, stopped eating all the fried foods. I started eating more vegetables. I changed what I was ingesting in this mortal body, in this earth body. I changed that. Then I started putting some vitamins in there that I had not been doing, and especially the D3. And from February, when they took the bone scans, this is in 2011 now. Where are we at? 2016? Okay, just thought I'd drop that in there. 2011, February. I see the date on my reports because I request reports every time they do scans and every time they do tests. I ask for the reports because if I don't have the written report from the doctor, folks won't believe what I'm telling them. Some folks will say, well, you was just misdiagnosed. You really didn't have cancer. But I got the reports. I got they got some name for it, typographies and all of the chemical panels. And I got all of that. Now I'm keeping it because I'm going to scan all of that when I put it in my book because won't nobody believe it if they actually see what the report said. My God, God is a good God. Yes, he is. When I sing that song, God is a good God. Yes, he is. Oh, baby, I know what I'm talking about. And somebody that don't believe that God Jehovah is God and that he's real, you need to hear this testimony and know that God is real. So I submitted to getting the rod put in the leg. Well, because I changed my diet and because I started with the D3, when they went in to do the surgery, they thought that because of the scans and how speckled my bones were with cancer, they thought it was going to be a piece of cake. The orthopedic surgeon even told me, he said, oh, we do this kind of surgery on, the 80 and 90-year-old ladies that just break their hip or break the femur bones. We go in and put that rod in. And because their bones are so brittle and fragile, it's a piece of cake. And you'll be up in 3 or 4 days walking. I put my confidence in that orthopedic surgeon, right? I was so sure that I was going to go in. I think I went in the end of June. Yeah, because I had scheduled new piano students. I was teaching piano lessons. And I had my students scheduled. No, that might have been in May. It was in May. I had them set and scheduled for August. Okay. Because I figure, okay, I'll give them, he said a few days, but I'm going to give them a few weeks. Okay, so I'll just not do any students in July. I had them set for August. Child. They went in there when this is the report that the surgeon gave me after it was all over. They said, we went in, we thought we was going to be able to just, I guess crack the bone or whatever and stick the rod in there. They said, your bones were so strong. We had to work at breaking the bone in order to get the rod in. I said, yeah, see, look at God. That's okay. But it took 2.5 months of rehabilitation because I had to learn how. I don't know what they did with my leg while I was in the surgery. But baby, I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't walk. And because of that big bone and those extra strong muscles that they had to cut through and all of that, I had to learn how to walk again. But guess what? I did not get discouraged. Because in the midst of even that, when they sent me to the rehab center, number one, they sent me to this facility that was a brand new facility. It was beautiful. Didn't have a whole lot of people in there when I went. But once I got there, boy, they got overcrowded. Looked like once I got there, everybody started coming there. Then whilst I was there, they had just bought a brand new baby grand. Woo, Lord. And when I was able to just move around a little bit in my wheelchair, and I wheeled on up there to the big common area, I saw that pretty baby grand. I said, does anybody play this? Because I'm a musician, for those of you that don't know. Been a musician since I was 16. Minister of music, Michigan, here, there, wherever. And they said, nobody plays it. I said, do y'all mind if I play that? They said, sure, go ahead. Oh, it was beautiful. And it sounded so good. It was so nice and crisp. I went there and I started playing hymns. You would have thought I was, some of these younger people don't even know about this story. But the Pied Piper that would played the flute and got all the children following him, you would have thought I was the Pied Piper. I sat there on the piano, started playing. Folk was coming from everywhere. They was asking the nurse, can you wheel me down there where that music is? And I started. You talking about taking a lemon and making lemonade? Yeah, I was in rehab. I could have played the pity party card. I could have been whining and crying. I've been in this rehab. No, baby. I was in there encouraging everybody else through the music. Folk that was not responding to anybody else, they would come down there and they'd pat their feet. Little old ladies that didn't have anybody to come and tell them that they cared about them. I'd start singing, yes, Jesus loves me. And folks, the tears would be streaming down. Woo-wee. I had a good time. Well, finally got out of rehab, got home. But I'm going to tell you something. That was in 2011. It has not been a piece of cake, even since then. Because since that time, I've had all kinds of problems. Because then I started having problems with my stomach. Went to the gastroenterologist. They determined that there's breast cancer in my GI tract, the upper and the lower GI tract, and down in the colon. Now, I said, devil, come on. Can you just stop? Because you're not getting ready to discourage me. Because you know what? In 2011, when I got home, the Lord gave me a song. And the song says, I'm going over to the other side. To the other side of what? To the other side of this sickness. God promised me that I'm going over to the other side. So I said, you take your best shot. Whatever. Do what you want to do. But I'm going over to the other side. I don't care what it looked like. I don't care what report you come with. I don't care. I'm going over to the other side. And the Lord gave me something not long ago. He told me that I'm past the halfway mark. I'm down. Now I'm going on the, when you got a mountain to deal with and it's a struggle getting up. And you get it up to the top. But then when you start coming down on the other side, it ain't as hard. I'm on the decline of this mountain. But I had to go through the mountain. I had to go over the mountain. You know why? Because somebody needs to see that I don't care how bad your life can be, how difficult, how complex, how disturbing, how discouraging. If you hold on to the God that I know, I'm talking about God Jehovah, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. If you hold on to him, he will take you over to the other side. How do I know? I got the example from Jesus. He told the disciples, come on, y'all, let's get in the boat. We're going over to the other side. But in the midst of them getting over, there came a storm, a tumultuous storm. And they thought they were going to perish. But he had to remind them, I said, we're going over to the other side. I didn't tell you it wasn't going to be no storm. So I'm on there. I'm on my way on to the other side of this dilemma. And in the midst of that, the glory of God is being shown because Listen, listen, listen. All of the reports say that my body ought to be doing this. My body ought to be doing this. I ought not to be responding to this. Yet, here I am. It got so bad, my blood dropped down, my hemoglobin dropped down to 6.2. Ooh-wee. I was weak, all of that, but I was still moving on. My God. The nurse told me, said, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I had just got finished being out of town somewhere singing or whatever. No, I think that was New Year's Eve. Had sung that night, and that next week they're telling me my blood was down to 6.2. How are you functioning? The one nurse told me, said my blood dropped down to 8 point something, and I couldn't hardly stand up. I was so sick. And you're moving and you're walking, and I said, we can't let it go any further. Can't let it go any lower, even though you're still moving around. They say, you need to go and get some blood. Get a blood transfusion. I said, all right, that's fine. I'll do that too. It's okay. Because see, one of the things I've come to understand, that it's God that gives the knowledge, even to the doctors, to work on this physical body. So, okay, work on it. I just trust God. I still have to trust him. Because he's the healer of it all. And if he don't heal it at that moment, I don't worry about it. He's got it under control. Because guess what? Because as of today, April 3rd, my diagnosis has not changed. They still show me as stage 4, a breast cancer person. My hemoglobin now is 8.6. And you know what my oncologist said? Oh, you're doing good. You're stable. He said, you look good. And you know what I told him? I said, I look good to me too. Amen. You know what's sustaining me? And I had service today. Ooh, I had service today. Let me show you something. Because I'm talking about, if I stand on my feet for a long, long time, my knees start hurting and all of that business. And we was in service today. And the Lord showed me he just showed me a vision of people. We were singing a worship song. And he showed me people that would be willing to just bow down on their knees, get on their knees in the middle of worship and just weep before the Lord. And guess who was the first partaker? I was the first one. And the enemy was over in the other end. You get down there, you ain't going to be able to get up. I ain't been down on my knees since before rehab. You know why? Because if I got down, I couldn't get up. And I wouldn't have nobody to help me up. But I heard the Spirit of the Lord. Oh my God. If those would just be willing to get on their knees and worship. And I was the first partaker. I went over to the first. I was singing, but I went over to the first row. And I got down on my knees. It wasn't an easy task, but I got down on my knees. And I began to worship. And the enemy was still saying, how you going to get up? You know you can barely get up out of the chair without some help. How you going to get up? But guess what? The power of God. I got up off my knees by myself and to begin to praise my God. My diagnosis hadn't changed. But the power of God is fueling every step I take. The power of God is fueling every breath I take. Glory to God. Yeah, it's his power. It's in him that I live, in him that I move, and it's in him that I have my being. Well, I think I've talked to y'all long enough. I'm just excited about what God is doing, and he ain't done yet. He's not finished yet. Oh, God, I pray that you would be encouraged, whatever your situation is, especially those of you that are viewing on YouTube all over this world. I know there's tumultuous times, especially in the foreign lands and where people are being killed. My God, in Nigeria, where people are being slaughtered, in various other parts, Pakistan, all over the world. Trouble is everywhere. But I want you to be encouraged. Don't you get trouble, but make sure you get Jesus. Uh-huh. That's what the disciples, when the storm, another storm, went to raging, and Jesus was in the bottom of the boat asleep. They said, wait a minute. It's a storm. Where is Jesus? Wake up, Jesus. And the question was, carest thou not that we perishing out here? Don't you care, Jesus? And Jesus said, oh, ye of little faith, I'm right here. Y'all not going to perish. You with me? And then he say, okay, let me go up here. Peace, be still. Get a hold of Jesus, beloveds. Get a hold of him. And he is able to see you through. I'm standing strong. Yes, I still have the diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer, but that don't bother me. I'm living in the strength of the Lord and in his glory. I praise God. I pray that you would be blessed with this testimony. God bless you. I forgot to mention, I never had a lumpectomy. You know, they found a lump in the breast. But because of the foods that I decided to start eating, the lump shrunk. They can't find it. Never had a mastectomy. They wanted to put the portacath in my chest. I said, no, I don't want nothing up in there. No, I don't want that. My little veins were so small. They always had a hard time trying to, because I had to start getting infusion for my bone therapy to strengthen my bones. And they would have to do a catheter. Well, my veins were so tiny and they would move around. They always had a hard time. And they kept trying to encourage me, get the cath, put the cath in it. It makes it so much. I know I don't want nothing artificial up in here. No, I ain't got no cath yet. Glory. And the bone strengthener that I get, I was getting it every month. I get it every 4 months now. And of course, I asked my oncologist, do we have to continue to do this? I mean, he said, well, you do what you want to do. And he's gotten to the place now, he almost goes by whatever I decide I want to do, because I'm quite adamant about what I'm not going to take and what I'm not going to ingest. Because they put me on some medication. Oh my God. Trying to, especially after they had diagnosed me with the breast cancer in the upper and lower GI tract and in my colon. Because, I mean, what? Is there any place else more that the cancer can go to? I mean, it's in my entire stomach, all my, and in my bones, supposedly. Okay? But I'm still moving. But he put me on this medication, and the medication started turning the palm of my hands started turning black. On my way to the doctor's appointment one day, I happened to look in the visor mirror in the car. I stuck my tongue out, and my tongue was speckled black. And my daughter said, oh my God, Mama, that stuff is killing you. I said, oh no, we gonna stop this. Y'all not getting ready to kill me with this, whatever this is. No. I got off of that. Take me off of this. Haven't been going to no situation where I had to be hooked up to chemo 2 or 3 times a week. No. I'm moving in the power of God in spite of the effects of whatever the cancer cells that they still see in there. God said, my hand is superseding what's going on in there. I'm not going to eradicate it yet, because I want somebody to see that even though the report is negative, if you just trust me, I'll keep you moving. I'll keep you going. I'll keep you full of joy. I'll keep you able to testify of the goodness of God. And when people look on, they'll say, look at the glory of God.